What's going on, family? You guys are so amazing. Listen, I came out with the preachers of the 757, and preachers all over the world were inboxing us, telling us how it impacted their life. But then I thought about it. I'm a youth pastor in the 757. Let me talk to a few young preachers in the 757. So that's what I created, the young preachers of the 757. Super edgy topic. How do you minister to millennials that think differently? It's going to be a crazy ride. Listen, today we have a super special youth pastor in the 757, none other than youth pastor Travis Barnes. I promise you, his insight to ministry and how to speak on the levels of the millennials is going to bless your life. Thank you so much for being a special guest.
No problem.
On the young preachers of the 757. Man, listen, man, tell us something about yourself that we don't know.
Oh, what is it that y'all don't know? Because I've been an open book for the past 3 years. So, one thing about me that you guys probably don't know, I watch a lot of cartoons.
Really?
And that's not because of my daughter. Yeah, I watch a lot of anime, superhero movies, stuff like that, just to kind of stay relatable. So,
love it.
Yeah.
So as a child, let's go ahead and dive deep into it.
Okay.
As a child, did you know that you'll be in ministry? I know that you're enjoying this video, but I need you to connect with us. Our mission here at Aosinspires is to empower the world to never give up. The message is free. It's just expensive to get it out. I need you to prayerfully connect with us. If you're giving through Cash App, it's Aosinspires. If you're giving through PayPal, it's Aosinspires. I promise you, your seed will be a blessing to somebody else and help us to fulfill our mission, and that's to empower the world to never give up. I want to connect with you, and thank you so much for sowing into Aosinspires.
No, sir.
Okay. What drew you to ministry?
It was a song called Praise Is What I Do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
William Murphy.
William Murphy.
Yeah.
I used to mime. So when I was miming.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, sir. So when I was miming, that song took me to another level.
Yeah.
And then
how so?
Because I realized it wasn't necessarily who I was and what I was doing. It didn't match to what I was presenting. Yeah. And my lifestyle and everything. Wow. So I was like, okay, this isn't right. So that was my first kind of calling, if you will, kind of a wake-up call. And then after that, Donnie McClurkin actually prophesied over my life. Wow. And he took me back to my past. Wow. And then took me forward. I was like, okay, I hear you guys loud and clear. And that's how I got in ministry, man. Wow. Yeah.
So you didn't have that storyline that most preachers have. Like, I ran from God. I knew the call. No. I was running. I didn't want to do it.
It wasn't necessarily running. Yeah. It was more or less, God, I hear you. I still kind of did what I wanted to do, but I felt myself growing closer, closer and closer to God. I don't want to say running per se, and I didn't have the whole, I didn't have a pastoral family lineage and stuff like that.
So no preachers in the family.
No preachers in the family.
So nothing to really draw off of a poster child.
Right.
Wow.
Right. So it's just all God just say, hey, kind of a Saul moment, if you will, right. When he became Paul. Yeah. But everything that all the energy you put into crucifying me,
absolutely,
use it to raise me and lift me.
Wow. Yeah. So how did it feel when you decided, at what age?
I first got that Praise Is What I Do calling at 17. Okay. I finally gave everything around 23, 22.
So at 17, did you have, and we're talking about how to minister to millennials now, because they think differently, right?
Sure do.
So at 17 years old, did you have to hide that you were saved, that that God had called you to preach, or God was using you in a mighty way? Did you have to?
No.
Or did you want to hide?
No.
Because sometimes I ask the young people at my church, do you pray before you eat? At school I don't, but at home I do. I'm like, why?
All the time.
I'm like, because people looking.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So as a young person, it becomes difficult being transparent to other young people that don't understand why we do what we do.
I ain't had an issue, man.
I love it.
Let me tell you, I actually had a situation with a girl. Yeah. Didn't work out, whatever. She was with the next. She went on to her next. Yeah. And he hit me up and was just, bragging about the fact and all that stuff. Called me Bible boy because he knew.
Wow.
Yeah, I never hit it.
Wow.
Oh yeah. With all Bible boy, church boy, all that
absolutely.
Stuff. Because
it was in the forefront.
It was in the forefront.
I took it seriously.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, man, they knew it. And, even though I may have, acted up, did certain things I wasn't supposed to do, people knew it.
Right.
It's, oh yeah, he's different.
I love it.
So.
So now let's fast forward to you, what, 30 years old now?
Yes, sir.
Youth pastor of your church, great church.
Yes, sir.
You see multiple youth each and every Sunday, each and every week. How is it thinking on a 30-year-old level, but trying to break it down to a 12, 14, 15, I know it all level? How does ministry look for you?
Oh, it always keeps me on my toes. I say that.
Yeah.
One, you gotta remember everybody's different. Every youth is different.
Absolutely.
So you always have to be, what's the next big thing?
Yeah.
What's on TV that's hot?
Yes.
And I know certain people don't necessarily like the pop preaching and stuff
Right.
like that, pop culture preaching, but that's what's going to reach them.
Absolutely.
That's what that's what they're in.
Yes.
Social media, BT, being Mary Jane,
Yeah.
stuff like that. All these different things you have to pay attention to. So I have to kind of think outside the box all the time. All the time. I have to see things in a totally different aspect than most may see or take a look at.
Because most people don't really understand the concept that if I'm not relatable, now I tell people this all the time. I do workshops and I tell them, children, young people know when you're being real, authentic, and being fake. Or they know when you don't watch some BT or you don't listen to some Nicki Minaj and you took some notes. Mm-hmm. They know. Mm-hmm. So what is your regimen? What is your practice as it pertains to being relevant to your young people?
First, I'll just be me.
Yeah.
I don't try to be anything but that. That's the first thing. Let me just be Travis.
Absolutely.
Because they knew me as Travis before they knew me as Reverend.
Right.
They knew his big brother Travis and all these different things. So I still remain that as much as I possibly can to help them realize, okay, he still cares and loves me. He's not trying to, steer me in a direction just because he's Reverend now.
Right.
So that's the first thing. The second thing, man, is listening to him, man.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times when we get older, we try to do all the talking. We try to do all the talking. We try to do all the leading and stuff. It's like, hey, man, just sit back and listen to him.
Yeah.
That's the best compassion sometimes, is just listening.
Love it.
And so sometimes you just got to hear what they're trying to say. And that's really it.
Right.
Be who you are and also just listen to him.
Right. So with listening to them, being relevant, how do you get the young people? Because I remember one time I came here, you had a flock load of young people, some dancing, some miming, some on the instruments. Mm-hmm. How is it that you get them to be to participate and want to be active in church?
After you do the listening part, you build what they want.
So how do you build?
You figure out what it is that they're looking for. What are you good at? What can you do? Because everybody can't dance, everybody can't sing, everybody can't do. So it's like, okay, you know how to play the xylophone? Yeah. Let's build a xylophone ministry for you. Wow. And guess what? You can be in charge of it. Love it. And you let them build their own stuff. Right. I have this thing that I'm starting this year with them is youth ambassadors. Okay. So they build their services. Yeah. So Youth Explosion this year, that's going to be theirs. Yeah. As far as what did they want, what speaker they wanted, all these different things. What else? I let them do a lot of so I let them sit at the table with the leaders, the adult leaders. Let them sit at the table and say, okay, let's the input. Because like I said, it's all about listening to them. Yes. So that's how you build. Because when another young person sees that a young person that's their age leading, sit at the table, saying, wow, we get the opportunity to make this ours. Right. Because their worship may not be our worship. Absolutely. And that's one thing you got to remember. We don't know their story. Right. We don't know what they may go through at home. Absolutely. So they may have a totally different look on what God has shown them. That's it. And they just worship in a totally different way. Man, you just gotta let them loose sometimes. Absolutely.
So with the building part, how do you build with them from a personal standpoint? Do you call them? Do you text them? Do you have a group meet? What's your plan of action as it pertains to
First, you gotta get the parents. Text some parents stuff first.
Absolutely.
That's probably the biggest thing.
I think that's the biggest issue most ministries have.
Right. Yeah. Build a relationship.
Because the kids can't come out as bad as they want to come.
They can't come unless
the parents bring them. Yeah.
So, the biggest thing is really building with the parents first. Because the kids will see that you care enough that you can deal with them. Right. Okay. Okay.
You can have them.
Right. And then the parents are like, oh, okay, you have enough respect. Like, okay, we can trust you. Right. And you'll start bringing kids. Hey, Reverend Travis is doing this. Da, 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 da. Make sure y'all there. whatever the case is, because to be honest, that's gonna be the biggest support is the parents of the kids who are in it.
So how do you get the parents' affection? How do you get it to the place where the parents like, listen, whatever it is, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm gonna bring them.
Listening to them too, man. What are their needs?
What kind of concerns do you hear from the parents?
Really, for me personally, it's schedule. Parents work. Some parents working two jobs. Whatever the issue may be, you gotta be able to come to where they are.
I love it.
And understand, okay, do I need to go pick up so-and-so? You can get them there, this, and the third. It's really about making them feel comfortable and helping them see the vision of the latter days. Yes. So I help them understand that this is going to be more beneficial later on in the run.
Right.
You may not see it now, but just know,
right.
in the end, you're going to be grateful that you allowed them to do so much in the youth ministry and allow us to help build in their lifestyle.
The different thinking mindsets of kids now. I heard a statement that said that common sense now is not so common. How do you patiently deal with people that think outside of the box? Or not even so much think outside the box, but just thinks differently than you. Because a 30-year-old mind is different from a 25-year-old mind.
Definitely.
How do you handle that?
Pray about it. I get a lot of ideas, of course, especially with young people kind of leading stuff.
Yeah.
You get all kinds of ideas. I mean, one time they wanted to do some pizza thing. I don't know what it was, but it was crazy. It wasn't just pizza.
Right.
But I get a lot of ideas that I'm like, what? But I have to go back and just, let me pray about it.
Yeah. And
I'll go home and I think about it, I have all the ideas written down.
Love it.
And I'll think about okay, does this make sense?
Right. How's this going to help us?
How's it going to help us?
Right.
How's it going to help them?
Yes.
How's it going to build others who may be watching? This, that, and third. Really trying to figure out, God, where do you want this to go?
Absolutely.
So that's really.
So what does your study time look like? Because now, youth pastors before, their young people didn't have the luxury of having Google. Didn't have the luxury of saying, okay, you said that God will make a way. Hold on, what about this scripture right here? Mm-hmm. They didn't have the luxury, but now your children do. So what does your study time look like?
I'm studying at work. I'm studying on the road. Anytime that I possibly can, I have to stay on my P's and Q's because the thing is, they may not ask the question while you're preaching. Yeah. And they may not even get anything.
And they have questions.
But they have questions that they may ask you at any given moment. Yeah. And I've had that, and I'm like, hold that thought. Right. Let me go find out for you.
I love it.
And it's okay if that happens.
Yeah.
That's one thing you got to remember too. It's like, hey, you're not going to know everything.
Absolutely.
So that gives them a moment to be like, oh, haha, you didn't know that.
Right.
But at the same time, don't forget about them and go back and say, hey, look, let's look at this now. But there's been times, man, that they've asked questions. I'm like, dang, I don't know. Right. So that's taught me that, okay, I got to always at least be 90% ready, for anything they may throw at me.
Absolutely.
So study time, a lot of it.
I love it.
A lot of it.
So how does your youth respond to tradition, the traditional ways of the old church? Now, or have they ever asked you, say, hold on, why do we do this?
They've asked that question.
Okay.
Honestly, and that's a great point that you had, the question of why do we do this?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we don't know why we do certain things.
Absolutely.
We're just doing it.
Right. Because grandma did it.
Yeah. So, they did it.
Passed down.
Let's just keep doing
it.
Right. And, they'll ask. And as long as you can tell them the reason why, and it makes sense, not because, we always done it, but it's like, because of this. For example, our podium has color cloth per season, season per Sunday that we kind of work with, and there's a reasoning behind each one of those, a very important reason. So when you explain that to them, they're like, and they let it be. They probably still don't care, but they let
now
it
that they have in their memory,
they have a memory bank, and then when they get older, they're like, okay, I get it.
Right. This is why.
This is why. Yeah. And so if you're just doing things just to do it,
all emotions,
it's not a good look, and that's where a lot of kids get annoyed nowadays. A lot of millennials, because nowadays it's no more just I'm just sitting here and be quiet.
Right.
It's why are we doing this?
Right.
That don't make sense. That doesn't help me at all.
Because the generation before, they didn't ask questions. Yeah. They just did because they were told to do. But this generation, it's not a I told you what to do generation. It's why am I doing this? I need to get a better understanding of why I'm doing it.
Right. Because they're not smart.
Right.
Like, hold on, this ain't helping me for
Right.
real. You know?
Right.
But the kids, man, I appreciate how smart they are, man.
Absolutely.
You know, because it makes it that much greater when you're teaching Bible study and this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
It just makes it that much more fun.
I love it.
You know, because of the questions.
Right. So with the questions being asked, and how do you handle the children that drop off? And when I say children that drop off, I'm talking about, they were strong 3 Sundays out of that month, singing, dancing. I mean, they were present.
Yeah.
But it's just they dropped off, they stopped coming. How do you handle that?
Well, it depends on which age range you're talking.
Okay.
Younger kids, parents, you can't do anything about that.
Right. Now, do you have something set where you reach out to the parents and say, listen, I've been looking for you. What's going on?
All the time. I personally do it. I don't have any of the
so you don't have any of your assistants? Okay.
I'll literally, I'll reach out to them.
Yeah.
But I do have the youth leaders, and I praise God for my youth leaders because they are very into what they do.
Absolutely.
To the point where it's not ministry, it's family now.
I love it.
And so they'll reach out to them and stuff too, on top of me doing it as well. But when you get to the teenage age and you kind of graduate high school and that age range, you got to reach out and see they're okay.
Absolutely.
Depression nowadays is more relevant than anything.
Yeah.
It's more prominent. The whole.
So did you battle with depression when you were younger?
Nah, not to a certain extent. Yes.
Okay.
But not as much as I've seen.
Love it.
And I praise God for that.
Yeah.
But I've seen it in a way that I'm like, are you okay? Just checking on you, just to let them know that we care.
Right.
Let them know that we're there. Not about, I haven't seen you in church. Why you didn't come to church? Stuff like that. No, hey, I haven't seen you.
Right.
Just checking on you, make sure you're good.
Right.
Yeah, I'm good. All right, cool. And keeping it that type of conversation instead of trying to be like, you need to get back in church.
Right.
And they, eventually they come back around.
Love it.
Prayer works, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it really does. This is my last question. I just want to sum up everything. Now, being a youth pastor, there's different issues that you battle with the youth. Not far as faithfulness, but I'm talking about far as teenager sex or drug use. Do you center your sermons in a way that can minister to those people or those younger people that's in your? How do you do it?
Well, that's always a touchy situation, touchy subject, but you got to do it. Yeah. And there's been times recently I didn't do it at first, just being kind of, I don't want to say traditional, but maybe scared. Okay. I'll say.
I love it.
To kind of go there, but more recently I'm like, what, this is an issue that we need to talk about. We have to talk about it. And the scripture says this.
Right. And traditional people will say, "Oh, you're being too worldly," or "Wait a minute, what you doing?"
Right.
But I tell people this all the time: what you won't talk about in church,
right,
they will talk about outside of church.
Right, and that's why we created the after church segment.
Yeah.
Because we have to be able to have those conversations that you may not see or hear on the pulpit.
Absolutely.
Somewhere within the church dynamic.
Right.
And so that's why we created after church, so we could be able to reach those young people who watch and stuff and say, hey, look, this is some weird stuff, that we deal with and this, that, and the third. Right. So that's kind of how I've done it in that aspect.
Love it.
Creating a program or a streaming program or whatever, and then putting it here and there in the sermons as well.
I love it. Listen, man, I want to say thank you so much for being a special guest from the Young Preachers of the 757. But let me ask you the question. Being a seasoned youth pastor now, what advice would you give to some other youth pastor, some youth leader that's trying to make their way through their youth ministry, trying to grow it, and trying to engage their young people? What would you share?
I would tell a pastor or youth pastor any type of encouragement, giving them any type of lead way, it would be don't give up. The first year is always a rough year. You're going to fall in your face a lot. The second year, it gets better. Third year, it gets better. The fourth year, you should be up and rolling. So never give up. Keep going, build a relationship with parents, and always, always, always follow the vision of your pastor as well. That's always good advice, and that's what I've done throughout the years. I've always made sure that what I have planned aligns with what pastor sees, as well as what God's vision is for this church. Hey, I love y'all. Take it.